Welcome, everybody, to Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa. Welcome to the Nick Saban Show, presented by Alpha Insurance. I am Eli Gold. Coach Saban will be along in just a moment or so. Seated to my right, a dear friend, the anchorman for the SEC on CBS, Brad Nessler, is here. Good to see you, Ness. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Eli. As always, take second chair to you, my friend.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'll tell you, you guys have had some great ball games, you and Gary and Jamie.
We hope to have close games, and sometimes we don't, and sometimes we have games that are close for a quarter and a half, and that's because Alabama and Georgia have made our lives kind of miserable this season because that's how it works. But that could end up being an epic battle 3 weeks from now. That we'd be all happy with that, you know.
Do you prepare differently for a game of major significance versus a so-called? I prepare the same way. It doesn't matter. Do you?
Yeah. It's and we try to do everything like it's college football playoff type of game, and Jamie does the same thing, Gary does the same thing, our whole crew does the same thing, and I know you guys do too. It would be fun if you could just go, well, this is going to be easy, and if you have a lopsided game, it's horrible. Here comes the coach.
Yeah.
And those are worse. If you have a close game, it's easy to do.
Those lopsided ones, it's tough to keep the audience involved.
They're terrible.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach, how are you? Good to see you.
Coach Nick Saban making his way up to the stage and getting settled in as we get set to begin our conversation. And again, if you'd like to join our talk, 877-202-BAMA. That's 877-202-2262. Hello, Coach. How are you, sir?
Doing well, thanks. Appreciate you asking.
Always.
How's everybody else here?
Everybody's doing great, and our dear friend Brad Nessler, kind enough to give up time on his Thursday night to be here.
Yeah, well, Brad's one of my favorites, man.
Hey, Coach, everybody said, I can't believe you're going to go do Nick's show because you're a Falcon supporter. It's hard to say fan sometimes after what the Cowboys did to him last week. And not only that, they're taking on Mac Jones and Damian Harris and company. And I said, well, I just hope that Mac doesn't have a 3-touchdown lead by the time I get back to my hotel room to watch the rest of the Thursday night game. So,
I got to root for our guys.
Yeah,
I know you do.
I root for them no matter what team they play for.
I root for your guys too, except I just assume they not obliterate the Falcons tonight. So,
hey, Coach, did you see this coming from Mac? I mean, we know he played so well, won the national title. Did you see him being a potential NFL starter in his first year?
Well, I think, Mac's a really, really bright guy. He really understands football. He's accurate with the ball. He's easy to coach.
Right.
I think he's a really good fit for where he is because that's kind of Bill's systematic approach to things. So everything's kind of clearly defined, and that's kind of how it was for him here. And I think that's the kind of system that he thrives in. I'm not surprised that he's doing as well as he's doing.
I'm thrilled for him.
I'm really happy for him, and I hope it continues.
Yeah. Ness, jump on in with the coach.
I was just going to ask when you talked about Mac, I guess even in the Tua time when he filled in and we asked you about him and you said, well, he comes from a tennis family, and then I made the mistake of, I guess you made a reference to John McEnroe.
Yeah.
And you said, but don't say that on the air. And then the next day I said it on the air. That you said he wants to.
I knew when I told you you wouldn't be able to help yourself.
No, I know. It was just too good.
So it wasn't a problem.
When you said he wants to break his racket every time he does something wrong, and then and then the producer, Craig Silver, goes, dude, I think Coach said, don't say that on the air. And I go, geez, I missed that part.
Yeah.
So, and I haven't missed anything since, I don't think.
Yeah. But that was probably Mac's biggest hurdle to overcome as a player, was being able to control his emotions, especially to play the quarterback position, to not get so upset or frustrated when he threw a bad ball or made a bad read or whatever. And he did kind of have a tennis player's mentality, and it was, do you understand how you're affecting everybody else? This is not an individual sport. You're the leader of the team, and you're kicking and fussing and acting like you messed up, and everybody else sees that. And that's not a good thing for your position. You know,
Right.
you have to be the commander-in-chief. You have to be in control of what's happening. And I think that was the biggest thing. And I think he learned it. We had one day where, I don't know, we had to go in the indoor. All right, so sometimes I sit up in the like when the players are doing stuff, I'll sit up in the weight coach's second floor office and look out the window. And I was looking out the window. Well, I can only see half the field. So Mac was on the other field,
Right.
on the other side of the field. I could see Mac, but I couldn't see the defense, and I couldn't see his receivers.
You need to upgrade your
I
facilities.
can only see Mac. All right, and so every time he would throw the ball, I would just look at Mac, and I could tell whether it was complete or incomplete based on his body language.
Yeah.
And I told the film guy, I said, film this. Film this. And showed it to him, and I said, this is how you're affecting everybody else. I can't even see whether you threw the ball complete or incomplete, and I can tell whether it's complete or incomplete by how you're acting.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that might have been the turning point for him. But, you know, sometimes doing those little individual things where you show somebody something like that
Right.
is really, really beneficial to them. And it's not a negative thing or anything. It's just, hey, look, see this? This is not a good thing.
Right.
Do you get lessons like this, Ness, when you visit with other head coaches? Are people open in general when you sit down with the coaches on Friday?
Actually,
Well, they know they can't trust them. I'm not smart enough that when I tell them something, they know they can't trust them. I trust them.
well, I've known him longer.
And then he
than
throws
every
me under
other
the
coach.
bus.
I've known him longer than every other coach in the business, so
I hear ya.
that probably helps a little bit, I think.
Yeah. Coach, how's the injury guys doing today?
We lost the two guys. JoJo will be out for 2 or 3 weeks probably. Roy Dale's going to be out for the duration.
Yeah, that's so sad.
And so it sure is. But, sometimes you get snake bit at one position, and, hopefully we can hang in there, and we've trained some of these other guys to maybe play that position if we need them. But
Your running back room is thin.
two
Yeah.
guys. And,
We've got an interesting question. I asked that because one of our questions from your blog, the Nick Saban Show blog at AL.com, from Benji in Smith Station, Alabama. He said, Coach, with all of Bama's injuries at running back, did you at any point have open tryouts for backup roles? I'm sure we have a number of guys who played running back in high school. Thanks and roll tide. How did you settle on who you moved to running back?
Well, I think we did just that. On our team, we knew every player and what positions had played in high school. Mm-hmm. Like Christian Leary played some running back in high school, even though he was a kind of a slot receiver and a runner. Demoy Kennedy, played some. Slade Bolden was a running quarterback as well as a running back, so he's a guy that we've also trained at a position, even though we didn't play him at that position, any in the game. So all the guys that we are training to be running backs from other positions were guys that played that position in high school or had some background in playing that position at some point in time.
You ever had this thin a group because of attrition or injuries, though?
No, never.
I mean, you always had like 3 backs to start with, much less not having anything past 2.
Yeah, well, we had 5, and then we had Keelan Robinson, who, left in the portal. He'd be playing a lot.
Yeah.
So, that's where I think sometimes these guys are a little short-sighted when they sort of misread what their opportunity really would be if they tried to stay and compete. So, but we just wish them well. We got to coach the guys that are here.
Definitely. Coach, we've got Pee Wee on the phone down in Grand Bay, Alabama. He's our first phone caller of the night, brought to you by Alabama 811. Always contact 811 before you dig to know what's below. Call 811 or online, al811.com. Pee Wee, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
I'm getting by, Eli.
All righty. All right. Good to hear your voice.
So what's going on, Pee Wee?
Coach, I was listening to your press conferences early in the week, and you was talking about how now you are seeing other defenses copycat what some defenses might have had success against us. So how hard is that to plan for in the coming up week against Arkansas, because you don't know what they may try to run, and how do you try to communicate that with the offensive line and the rest of the offense?
Well, I don't think that I think the way I explained it before was pretty much the best way to try to approach it. You can't defend ghost, on offense or defense, and take what anybody's ever done in the history of ball and get your team ready to play for it.
Yeah.
You do have to have rules that the players can rely on. Fundamental rules that gives them an opportunity to have success. But that's why we always take on Monday and have that 15-minute period where we take everything that was an issue for us in the game and we go through it. We call it corrections. All right, so we therefore give the players some background in something, and a lot of these things are things that we had not prepared for and things that we have not seen before. So we'll figure out exactly how we want to do it, what we want to do, what we do in the future. So the players have some resource of information. If somebody pops up and does it again in a game, we have some resource of information as to, we can say, like I say to the defensive players all the time, man, remember how we played this bunch pass? Instead of playing interstate, we're going to play traffic because this is the pattern they're running or whatever. They get it because they have a resource of information of how they've done something in the past. And it's much easier to do that with experienced players than it is guys that are new players, because they don't have the same, foundation of experience that would allow them to draw on things like that. So you can't practice everything. But I also think that, it's hard to change. You take a big chance and a risk yourself as a coach when you have a system and you're playing a system, especially on defense. I mean, you can feature your offense to the players that you have, that you want to feature, and the positions that you want to put them in, and the type of offense and the style of offense you want to play relative to the quarterback and the players that you have. But on defense, you have to have a system that has to be adaptable and adjustable to a lot of things. And when you start putting new stuff in and you start doing things that the players aren't familiar with, you're taking a big gamble yourself that they're going to mess it up in the game. All right, yeah. And not know how to adjust and adapt to certain things that you do. So this is can go both ways, for you. And not to put a new blitz in or whatever, but the thing that we have seen that our players have to be more ready for is what we call blitz zero. All right, LSU did it to us. Most people, we don't do it very often because you're taking a big risk. When you play just straight man-to-man in the back end and try to rush more guys than they can block, all right, which is what LSU did. One guy beats one guy, and it's a touchdown. It's a big play. So, and if you have to be able to take advantage of that. But that's not something that a lot of people are willing to do. Arkansas has done it a few times, and people have done it to us, so they're going to have success. But we have to have a plan for it now, a better plan than we had in that game, and I think we do. So you can't get guys ready for everything, then they won't be ready for anything.
Is this defense of Arkansas's more like Ole Miss in
Yes.
that, and that's where B-Rob had a big game? And I don't know, I've done a couple radio shows this week, and I think on senior night might be his, or senior day might be his kind of game again.
Right. Well, these people that play three down,
Yeah.
right, which is Ole Miss, and this all started in the Big 12 at Iowa State. They started playing three down guys and six defensive backs. Mm-hmm. And they adapted a system because there was so much spread, there was so much sort of empty and guys all over the big splits and all that you wanted to give more depth to your defense by having an extra dropper. So they came up with a system that works pretty good where you have a chance to stop the run, but you are light in the box and you got smaller people on the field. So, you have to be able to run the ball effectively. Now, I do think the strength of Arkansas's defense is their front three guys. And they've got three really active
Ridgeway
linebackers.
And Williams and
they're good. They're not easy to block, so they do a good job, and they know the system that they have and where everybody fits on the runs. So they do a pretty good job in that regard. But you have to have balance against these teams, and you have to run because they're going to play 8 guys in coverage when the down and distance gets in their favor. So that gets dirty for the quarterback. I mean, it's and the guys rush pretty good.
Yeah.
55 is a good rusher, so they get some pressure with 3 guys. So this is a challenging defense if you don't have really, really good balance. Now, one thing Arkansas does that if you get in regular people, they'll play 4 down and 5 defensive backs instead of 6. Ole Miss didn't do that. So getting in regular people doesn't help as much, but you at least know how they're going to play it.
Exactly.
Those 3 linebackers are rangy, though, aren't they?
Yeah,
Morgan
they're really
and Henry
good.
and Bumper Pool.
Yeah, and this team prides himself in being physical, being tough, smacking you in the mouth, and that's how they play. All right, and if you can't match that with them, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
You're going to have a problem. I told the players that right in the beginning of the week. So.
Gentlemen, we're going to break away and take care of a little business here, then we'll come right back. Lots of talk yet to go. We're spending time with Coach Nick Saban and from CBS Sports, Brad Nessler, here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. Here's a 1st and 10 from midfield for Alabama. Bryce waits, claps his hands. Play action fake and a throw wide open left side. Caught, and with his speed, nobody's going to catch Jamison Williams. Touchdown, Alabama, 50 yards. And indeed, nobody did catch Jamison Williams. Now 10 receiving touchdowns, 3 of those coming last week. And Coach Saban, it was nice to see Jamison get added to the list for the Biletnikoff Award, one of the semifinalists for that honor.
Yeah, well, he's done a great job for us all year long, and he gave us exactly what we needed, vertical speed and a fast guy to, complement some of the other receivers that we have, and his production has been outstanding. And I think we do a good job on offense of featuring what he can do, though, too, which has helped him make a lot of big plays and really helped us have some explosive plays.
Definitely. Coach, right here to your right, we have a visitor at the restaurant with a question. Good evening, sir.
Yes, I'm Rick Edmonds from Brent, Alabama.
Hey, Rick.
I know that Arkansas is on the horizon, but I was wondering, what is your favorite win at Alabama?
Oh, man.
Wow.
I can't call
one of
that
those
one.
6 rings, maybe?
Yeah.
I can't call that one. I really can't. I mean, there's been so many great players, so many really good coaches, so many people who have contributed to the success of the program here, the university commitment, the athletic directors, whether it was Mal, Bill Battle, now Greg. Everybody has been so supportive of helping the program. To say one team was like better than the rest, but I think always the first time. Like the first team that won the championship in the 3rd year that we were here. The 2nd year we went to the SEC championship game, won, defeated Florida, beat us. They won the national championship. Then the next year we played them again. We beat them, and then we beat Texas. But that group of guys, probably it's not my favorite win or anything like that. They're all great. But that group of guys and that team, I probably have a little bit more sort of heartfelt love for, because all those guys came here when we weren't any good. They came here because this was their destination. They wanted to come here and prove something and do something special. When Julio Jones came here, we were 7-6. When Dante Hightower came here, we were 7-6. When Mark Barron came here, we were recruiting them after our first year, and they didn't know whether we were going to be any good or not. So they really had something to prove. So that was a lot of fun to see that group have such a great impact. And that recruiting class, if you want to go back and look at that recruiting class and see where all those guys ended up, that first recruiting class, had Cody in it and all those guys. I just remember the equipment guy walking out on the field when those guys came to the first practice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he said, I ain't seen a bunch like that around here for a while. So anyway, I can't answer that. They're all great wins. The next one obviously is the most important, so that's the one we're focused on right now. And don't really think a lot about it, to be honest with you, but I appreciate you asking.
Yes, sir. Thanks for joining us here at the show tonight.
You don't have a ton of seniors, but it's a Seniors Day Saturday.
Yeah.
I don't know how many you have, but the guys, some of them are super seniors, some are would-be seniors, but they're probably going to go to the NFL. Just the group of guys you have that you're dealing with right there, spectacular players.
Yeah, we have 15 seniors, and probably, I'm going to say 8 or 9 of them have really made tremendously significant contributions to the program and the success of the program. They all have.
Right.
But I'm saying there's a group of them that are fantastic in the way they played, the number of games they played, the consistency they played with, and the kind of people they are and how they've represented the university and the program and the organization and how they've contributed to getting the next guys to come and how they understand the culture. I think that's the one thing that our players through the years have done a fabulous job of, and it's probably overlooked by the senior class. You see them leaving and everybody sort of has a lot of admiration for them being here and what they've done and all that. But probably the most important thing is they've promoted the culture to the next generation.
Right.
Which is the most important thing, because I think that, in society, we're all kind of dealing with a little bit of, just like you look out there's a handful of teams that are beating teams like they should. And I think you have to have a culture on your team where people kind of get over this feeling of entitlement, that you just show up and win. When you come to Alabama, that's not the end, that's the beginning. That's the beginning of your career. And you're not really entitled to anything. You're not entitled to play, you're not entitled to. So I think it says life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Does it not say that?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
you have the opportunity, not to be entitled, but the pursuit of being successful, the pursuit of accomplishing goals. And you have to associate, work, preparation, focus, discipline. All these things have to equate to performance. Not that I'm just going to show up and win. Not that because I participate, I'm going to have success. So I really do believe that having players on your team that can promote the culture of the organization, even though the coach is always trying to do it, is really important. Because I'm telling you, if you've got 3 or 4 alpha dogs, if you were in the Army and there were 1,000 guys and you were going to go charge, there's only 3 or 4 of them that are really alpha dogs. The rest of them just follow them. Is that right? They just follow them. Ain't none of them wants to run up the hill.
Yeah.
All right. So that's kind of what we've had here. And that's what has made this organization be able to continue to be successful. And I think that gets overlooked a lot with the seniors and the leaders and the people that we've had that have helped us be able to continue to get our young players to not have that feeling of entitlement.
You dig the pursuit, don't you?
I do.
Okay, because I was just going to say, so, I work with some pretty good people, our crew and our network, and I work at other networks, and I dig the teamwork, and I love the pursuit of being the best. And, we have some people that are really talented. And so I was telling our bosses this week, I said, I love it because all those people are so good at their job that I want to be up to their standard or maybe even above that standard. And so the pursuit, that's what I dig about, the pursuit. And we have that in common. I like that.
Yeah, well, you're not entitled to the outcome. You're entitled to the opportunity.
There you go.
To get the outcome.
Exactly.
All right, so the things that you do and taking ownership for your own success are really the most important things that you can sort of instill in young people, I think, right now. And when you have some leaders on your team and older guys that kind of buy into that, man, does it help with the younger players on the team.
It really does. Let's go down to South Alabama. Let's head to Loxley and Chris, who is on the phone. Hey, Chris, welcome to the Nick Saban Show.
Roll Tide, Coach.
Roll Tide, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing great. Coach, like yourself, I always take the next opponent seriously, whether it's Mercer or Ohio State, but it's always the next opponent. I'd like for you to do me a favor and address our fan base, because I've been hearing a lot of rat poison this past week about future games, and I'm not hearing anything relative to playing the Hogs or anything like that. Nobody's talking about that. They're talking about championship games and all that good stuff. Let them know just how serious this one is. You know, you commented on a couple of games as trap games this year, and we're 1-1 in those 2 games that you called trap games, and was dang near 0-2.
All right.
I just wish you'd just raise a little cane about it, if you will, brother.
Yeah, well, we might send a plane down to pick you up, and you can come back up here and talk to the people in our organization and the players and give them the speech you just gave me. Because I do think there's some of that, and that's not a good thing. We really all year long have tried to build on what it takes to be a team. You know, the togetherness it takes, everybody put the team first, everybody buy into the principles and values of the organization, be positive, you know, in your body language and how you do things, and be positive to support your teammates, and have energy and enthusiasm, and be responsible for your own self-determination, and go out there and do your job and work and prepare and do the things you need to do to take ownership so you can do that. And it's constant that we get these negative vibes from external factors that seem to interrupt, you know, our ability to try to do this on a consistent basis. And I actually got on the players pretty good yesterday about that, because you want to try to build and finish, and players have to understand what it takes to finish. And this very thing that I talked about, when all you read and hear is the unimportance of the game you're playing and the lack of respect for the team you're playing, from other people outside. Because amazing to me, I mean, everybody believes what they read. And you all can put whatever you want on your phone and run into the wall looking at it, but they believe it. So that's not a good thing. That's very, very difficult, and you have to have a lot of maturity and a lot of good leadership on your team, because it creates this culture of what I just talked about. We just show up and win. We just show up and win. And that doesn't work that way. So I challenge the players, and I challenge the leadership on the team to make sure that we go about and do things the right way. Arkansas's got a good team. I don't know why anybody would think they don't have a good team. They're 7-3. They beat Texas. They beat Texas A&M, who beat us. So I don't get it. And they lost 52-51 to Ole Miss because they went for 2 at the end of the game, which I'm not blaming the coach for doing that, and they didn't make it.
If they would have gotten a 2-point conversion, they would control their own destiny to be on the west side.
That's right.
Yeah.
On a 2-point conversion, it all came down to that. So I don't understand it. But so maybe that speech about entitlement also applies to fans.
There you go. There you go.
Not just players.
I knew it was coming.
Not just players. and we have great fans. Don't get me wrong.
We do.
But sometimes I think that fans don't understand how what they do can impact the psychological disposition of young people and what they need to be doing so that they can play the way they need to play. Be positive, be supportive, and understand your role. They need your help. They need your support. We got to create a great stadium for them to play in and make it hard for the other team to play at our place and not have the expectation that we're just going to show up and win.
And that could be a big factor this weekend, the way Arkansas plays.
No doubt. I mean, they try to go fast sometimes, but they're a no-huddle team. And, you know, we need all the help we can get. I mean, I'm just telling it like it is.
We're coming right back. The coach will continue to tell us more as it is right after these messages here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. Robinson to the right of the quarterback. Looking, throwing into the end zone. Touchdown, Latu. Cameron Latu using his size to make a nice grab of 12 yards overhead of Dylan Early. 6th touchdown reception of the year for Latu. Standing at 6'5", 250 pounds. As we welcome you back, this segment of the Nick Saban Show, presented by Royal Furniture, family owned and operated for 75 years. Royal Furniture has locations in Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Memphis, and Jackson, Tennessee.
Eli,
for your shopping convenience.
Your boards are better than mine.
Well, I need more help than you do. That's what it is. That's what it is. Coach, another question from the Nick Saban Show blog. This comes from John in Waycross, Georgia. He says, hey, Coach, Arkansas defensive coordinator Barry Odom has coached in the SEC for many years. How would you characterize his defenses, as they always seem to be pretty good? What's special about his defense? Thanks, and roll Tide.
Well, I think Barry is one of the best coaches in the SEC. I think he did an outstanding job when he's a head coach at Missouri. He's been a good defensive coordinator for a long time. Lots of people have a tremendous amount of respect for him. And what he's done there is implemented this, 3-3 style, whatever you want to call it, defense, 3-2, 6, which they play, most of the time if you have 3 wide receivers in the game. And they do just an excellent job with their players of knowing exactly how to play the defense, exactly how they stunt, exactly how they line up against every formation to try to give them the best advantage to be able to play the plays. And they do a really good job. I think last year they played really good on defense and they didn't have, great players. This year their players are better and they're much more improved in a lot of areas of their team. And they're doing a great job of coaching them on both sides of the ball. And Barry does a fabulous job. I have as much respect for him as any coach in our league.
Really? That's a lot. That's saying a lot right there, Ness.
It is. Can I ask you a question that has nothing to do with football?
Yeah.
Okay, because Miss Terry's right here, and at home I have Miss Nancy, and we just call her the head coach at home, basically. But so she said, you're going to be on Coach's show, and I said, yeah. And she goes, okay, can you ask him a question? And I said, I guess. So what was your first date with Miss Terry?
We went to see Gone with the Wind in the Lee Theater in Fairmont, West Virginia.
You got it right.
You got it right. She's clapping and giving you a big thumbs up.
Wait a minute. So this is awesome because we also went to a movie, Miss Nancy and I, but we went to Blazing Saddles. And so, now wait. Now I know she's shaking her head. So anyways, we're at Blazing Saddles, right, in Mankato, Minnesota. And then 2 of my 3 idiot roommates show up and sit right behind us. And so we get to the campfire scene, which I think a lot of you know what that's about.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of laughter. And I didn't think there was going to be a second date with Miss Nancy, but 43 years later, we're cool. But anyway.
Oh, good.
Okay, I just wanted to ask you that.
Well, we're working on 50.
I know you're above. I know you're ahead
December
of me.
18th.
December
18th.
December 1st, I'm 43. So that's.
Oh wow, you've done well.
So Gone with the Wind is a heck of a lot better movie than Blazing Saddles, but.
Well, it's a classic, no doubt.
Well, they're both classics.
They're both classics in their own way.
But anyway, I had to ask that because Nancy's at home tonight, and she said just ask the coach that question.
And in those days, I will admit this, I was really shy. It was a hard way to have a conversation. It's gotten a little easier over the last 50 years, but it was tough that night.
Did you get like a kiss goodnight or anything like that?
I don't think so.
I don't think I did either. Because when she did the campfire scene, she said, you are the idiot of all idiots. There's not going to be a second date, I don't think. And then I called her the next day and I said, can we do something maybe a little easier or whatever? And she goes, as long as you don't bring your idiot roommates and there's not a campfire scene on Blazing Saddles.
And the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
All right, I just had to ask you that
Yeah.
for Nancy. Okay.
We've got a gentleman right here to our left, fellas, with a question here at the restaurant. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Thank you, Coach. My name is Eddie Jones from Rolla, Missouri, and congratulations on you and Miss Terry for 50 years.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
That's
that.
wonderful.
Thank you.
The question I have for you is, what do you feel is the greatest challenge we have with the Arkansas game coming up that will help us to continue to maybe become that championship team?
Well, I think that there's challenges on both sides. I think we got to really do a good job of being physical up front and controlling the line of scrimmage to be able to run and pass in this game. and not get behind in the sticks. They give you a lot of negative plays, and that's when you get sort of at a disadvantage with the way they play. And, their quarterback is a big, strong guy. They run quarterback runs, which is just like Wildcat. Burks is really a mismatched receiver. They've got a good runner. Their offensive line is all back from a year ago, so they've got a lot of experience. They do a lot of motions, shifts, and and they go fast. So this is very, very challenging, probably as challenging as game from a preparation standpoint, for our players as any game that we've had in terms of adjustments that we have to make and matchup issues that they create because they run the ball so well and they make a lot of explosive plays throwing the ball down the field. So this is a very good team, really, and A.J. Jefferson has done a really, really good job of playing quarterback for them, and he's a very challenging guy. Man, he is hard to get on the ground. He is a really strong guy. It's not like he's this elusive, fast, he's very athletic and he's fast enough, but he is hard to tackle. I watched some of his scrambles where 4 or 5 guys, just bounce off before they get him on the ground. And he's very effective as a passer. So this is a challenging game for us.
Kind of Cam Newton-ish a little bit.
Very much. Yeah. Good analogy. Very good analogy.
Let's go to the phones. Todd is joining us in Birmingham. Hello, Todd. Welcome in, sir.
Hey, guys. Hey, Coach. Number one, anybody that thinks Arkansas is not a really good team doesn't know their blank from a hole in the ground because they are a good team.
Yeah, they are.
I called a few weeks ago. I used to be a head coach in high school. That's nothing at your level. But one of the things that really frustrated me was a lack of communication. And other than this last game, I still continue to see a lack of communication defensively, especially with the DBs, and then the DBs with the linebackers. Not so much the linebackers with the line, but the secondary. And so I guess my question is, do you see progress? Granted, last week was pretty good, but progress in that. And how do you go about in the future trying to really solidify the communication part? Because obviously they're all talented, but the communication part with your complex defense.
Right. Well, let me say this, that I do think that communication is vitally important, especially in the secondary, especially in the coverage elements, and a little easier to adjust up front sometimes because people are in a closer proximity, to communicate. Defensive backs in this day and age, especially when you throw the noise in there, the secondary people have to use a lot of hand signals, and it's not like just out of practice where you can say, hey, this is 3 cloud, that we're playing here or whatever the call is, or we're playing 7 switch or 7 bracket or whatever it is. So they have to use a lot of hand signals, and when teams go fast, it really is difficult. And, we made 3 huge mental errors in the Tennessee game, which went for 167 yards. Those 3 plays. If you take those 3 plays out, Tennessee, we played pretty well. All right, so, and those plays were contributed to by a lack of communication. But the thing about it is the guy that lines up furthest away from our bench in the secondary when these teams go fast, and they know what they're doing, okay? They know what they're doing. All right, just like, we got called for a substitution infraction against Tennessee, was it? Or somebody going fast, Tennessee or Ole Miss. All right, and the same thing happened to A&M in the last game. They did sub. All right, the officials didn't see it. All right, we look in the press box and see that they subbed, so we subbed because we're assuming that the officials get it.
Right.
The officials don't get it. All right, so the officials are telling me, well, you need to look at us, and if we go like this, then you can sub. I said, we got 6 guys I'm paying in the press box to see if you sub or not, and we're going to have the guys look at you, and then you miss it, and we miss it. So, anyway, we're still looking at the sidelines. All right, but I do tell the people on the sidelines, don't sub until the guy stops. Now you can say they're subbing, and it happened in the A&M game the other day.
Right.
But anyway.
Depends on what hash mark and who's on the side, who's closest to the sideline.
Yeah, they run out of bounds in front of their bench,
Right.
and there's 14 guys coming off the bench. Nobody knows who was in the game and who wasn't in the game. And they're going fast. All right, but my point was going to be the guy that lines up furthest away from our bench. All right, everybody on defense has to know every hand signal. All right, the days of getting in a huddle and say we're playing under O, 2-2-3. That don't happen anymore. All right, there's no huddle. Nobody gets in a huddle for anything in college football. All right, so you make that signal as a signal caller. All right, when I played defensive back, I was counting on the guy in the huddle telling me what the call was. I didn't have to get the signal from the sidelines. And then I communicated it to everybody in the secondary what we were playing or what adjustments we were making. Everybody has to get the signal from the signal caller. That's number one. So you've got to have 11 guys be on the same page. All right, and the guy furthest from our bench cannot see the signal caller half the time. He's got to look through 22 people, all right, to see our signal caller on our sidelines. All right, so now the safety's got to communicate it to him, and they're snapping the ball, just like Josh Jobe gets run right by in the Tennessee game because they're going fast, and he don't have the signal, and he's looking around, and the guy runs right by him for a 70-yard touchdown.
Sometimes would you just like to have everybody line up, even though you don't have the guys in that you want in there?
Well, that's how we played Ole Miss. We didn't sub at all. We played everything the same.
Yeah.
We played everything the same. And but my point is, we need to do a better job of communication, but the challenge of communicating in the secondary in this day and age of football is about 25 times harder than it was back in the day. Yeah. Before teams started going fast and before teams started going no huddle. And the way defenses have caught up is when people first started going fast, you would just call one thing, Okie cover 6, and play Okie cover 6, and they'd run down the field on you like nothing because that's all you play. Well, now we're trying to do more things against these fastball teams, so now you've actually increased the volume of language that everybody has to understand and the communication relative and all the signals that everybody has to know. And, we have some of these where, now I get on Pete sometimes because, this may mean 14 different things. And I'm like, we can't be that way, man. I mean, because this guy thinks you called this and that guy thinks you called that. So then you blame the players for lack of communication. But so the volume of communication is so much greater than it's ever been before. But it is an issue, especially in the secondary, where if Henry gets the signal, and he can say we're playing whatever, flex. Everybody knows what to do.
Yeah.
But they're within this table of everybody. Mm-hmm. All right. But the secondary guys are clear back there at that table.
Yeah.
So it is harder. It is harder. And I'll be honest with you. I think that was the thing that was a killer for us last year, and we've gotten a lot better at it. But it still has been a problem for us at times.
Whoever that caller was just got a load full of answer right there.
He sure did. Todd, thanks for your call. We're back in a moment on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. We are back. This segment of the Nick Saban Show sponsored by the new Coke Zero Sugar. New look, improved taste. New Coke Zero Sugar. And, Coach, it's time for the final word, presented each week by Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing.
This is the final game in Bryant-Denny Stadium this year, and I think that we have a lot of seniors that are playing their last game, not a lot, but 15, and, I can't tell you how much those guys appreciate the support and the acknowledgement of all the hard work that they've done while they've been here, and just think of the good times that group of guys have given a lot of our fans, things to be proud of, things that they have accomplished, what they've done. And you only see the football part of it. I can tell you that there's a lot of them that have done a great job in school and personally and community support and service and all kinds of things to help other people. So I'd like to see everybody come out and really, really give these guys a warm send off in their last game at Bryant-Denny Stadium. And from a team standpoint, this is the most important game of the year. They've got a good team. We need to sort of establish that we can play with some kind of consistency and that we can play and be tough and go jaw to jaw with a team that's going to be physical and tough with us, and we got to be the same way with them. And the more energy and enthusiasm that we can have, the greater sense of urgency. All that comes from mindset. And when that stadium is rocking, man, that helps the mindset of all the people and all the players on the field, and that helps us have success. And that's something that we really, really need to do a great job of in this last game of the season in Bryant-Denny Stadium.